Mike Kern here with Adam Emmenecker for another shootout segment. And Adam, we'll start off with a couple of things. And first of all, we got Bradley Belmont playing in a game where two teams are on winning streaks, and Belmont has protected its home court throughout the year.
Yeah, I think that's the highlight of the week between those two. A couple teams obviously in the top of the standings. Bradley preseason favorite, Belmont preseason in that top half as well. And I think for Coach Alexander, Belmont, that 5-game winning streak after struggling with the Iowa road swing, losing at Drake and UNI, of course. But part of this Belmont group, you think of them as an offensive group, and obviously they've been really good offensively. But I think what you've seen with Coach Alexander's group after the couple of losses, they've won tight games, and they've done it with just having toughness at the end of the game. It's been guys like Carter Witt. Carter Witt's been really, really good in that stretch, over 23 times over the course of this 5-game winning streak. I think Tyler Lundblade and his scoring has been so big for this group all year, just to kind of be that third guy giving a punch, but the spacing and the gravity he draws, double figures in 4 of his last 5. In 4 of their 5 losses, he's been under 10 points. So anytime Tyler Lundblade is over 11, this group seems to really be flowing well. That means they're scoring, their offense is opening up. And of course, Jonathan Pierre has been really, really good. Hasn't scored it as much in the last couple games, but 7 assists in each of the last 2. So when Belmont has that type of balance, they're as potent of an offense as there is. And, we've talked a couple of times about the potent offense of Bradley. Quick course correction for the Braves after that Drake loss. Won a game, honestly, they kind of had no business winning. Big time shot down the stretch at UIC, big time finish for Duke Dean. And we're really dominant in the last couple against Indiana State and Murray State, kind of what you would expect. But I think where you got to watch the Braves right now, this game at Belmont, it's a tough stretch coming up. Home for Illinois State, home for UIC, which could be a little bit of a revenge game for the Flames, and then at UNI and home for Belmont. So this is a stretch for Bradley, 5 straight games toward the top of the league. It'll be interesting to see how the Braves handle it.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned 2 players, Duke Dean, Carter Witt, 2 of 3 players in the league that have had 10 or more points and 4 or more assists in a game more than 10 times this year. Should be a great matchup against those two guys and those 2 teams. Southern Illinois on a winning streak also. They've got 3 in a row. They've beaten Missouri State twice. They had Northern Iowa just recently. They have Murray State on Wednesday. Tough matchup, a rivalry game for both teams. Talk a little bit about that game, if you will, and Southern Illinois' recent winning surge, if you will.
Yeah, how about the recovery? I mean, if you just go back a couple of weeks, right? Southern was losers of 5 straight. They were sitting at 0-5 in the league and just kind of wondering like, oh gosh, where in the heck is this going to go? But back-to-back wins against Missouri State, and now winners of 3 straight, and an opportunity to host Murray State with to be able to tie them in the standings. So it obviously it helps. The back-to-back games against Missouri State kind of got this group on the right path, but it was a convincing wire-to-wire win against UNI, holding the Panthers to 15 points in the first half. Yes, the offense has been better under Coach Nagy, but I really do think it's the defense that's kind of led the charge for the Salukis, which no surprise for a program that's so historic, so well schooled on the defensive end. Kennard Davis has been really, really good. Obviously, player of the week this week, coming off 24 and 10 in that Panther game. They've had Ali Deba step up, score 30 points. Jarrett Hensley getting 30 in the first win against Missouri State. So defense has been impressive in the last couple outings, but they're starting to show some of that offensive punch as well. Are the Salukis?
Last year's reigning freshman of the year, Cooper Schwiger of Valparaiso, is having another great year. He's really kind of turned it up a notch recently. Your thoughts on Valparaiso and their recent surge? And I know their
Yeah.
record is better than last year, but they are surging in league play as well.
Yeah, definitely improved in year two under Roger Powell. It hasn't quite converted to wins, but you could see the improved roster and the toughness is this just there down the stretch. So 3-5 in the league, losers of 3 straight. But I think you look at this stretch playing at Drake, but then the games coming up after that are teams where Valpo is in the standing. So Evansville, SIU, at Illinois State, at Indiana State. This is an opportunity for Valpo if they want to start to rise to kind of that mid-tier of the Missouri Valley. This is an opportunity for Coach Roger Powell and his group. And I think you look at the way they've played and a couple of the close losses. So obviously a pretty big loss at Ohio State, lost at Bradley in double overtime, lost at Murray State, at Belmont, and then home for UIC. those are pretty good games that this team's continue to compete in. The offensive punch is better for Valpo. The defense and the toughness is there. I expect this team to continue to get better as the year progresses, but they got a tough test coming up on the road at Drake this week.
Yeah, the Drake test is a tough one. They were down 16 to Belmont a week ago, came back, took the lead in the second
Yeah.
half,
Yeah.
and that shows some resiliency that you just kind of talked about a little bit with Valpo and Roger Powell's club.
Yeah, and against UIC up with 4 minutes to go and just couldn't close. And that's part of what I mean is that the toughness is there. There's a little bit more offensive punch. This team, this is a gritty Valpo group. Again, it hasn't quite translated to wins yet, but that's part of what you see. These are just early seeds of continued progression. And Cooper Schwieger, of course, has been really, really good so far this year. And for Valpo to get some wins, I think we talked about it last week. Cooper Schwieger's got to take another jump up in the right direction. He's got plenty of talent to be able to do it.
And he started to do so. So by the time we talk again next week, we'll have reached the midway point of the conference schedule. We are 8 games in. We'll be 10 games in by next week. It picks up pretty fast, and we're looking forward to another conversation next week, Adam. Thank you for your time again tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
All righty. Bye-bye.